then out came...
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. The Pope says from now on it's one strike and you're out for priests who abuse children. Karen Hughes, one of the most powerful women ever to serve in the White House, is quitting so she can be with her kids. Can a woman really have a big job in a family? And the FBI issued another terror alert. I'm John Kasich, in tonight for Bill O'Reilly. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. The Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Everyone, I'm Donna Fiducia. Two stuntmen from Robert Blake's old show Baretta may be key witnesses against him. Blake's lawyer says Gary McClarty and Ronald Hamilton will testify that Blake tried to hire them to murder his wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley. Blake has been formally charged with killing Bakley last May. Elsewhere, Michael Skakel's defense attorney saying today that Skakel's former tutor killed Martha Moxley. The lawyer for the Kennedy cousin on trial for the 1975 beating murder of his 15-year-old neighbor asked the judge to allow testimony and evidence he says will implicate Kenneth Littleton in the 1975 murder. He says taped conversations suggest Littleton confessed to his ex-wife. The trial begins next month. Colorado police believe the man known as Philadelphia's Center City rapist may be a man being held in Fort Collins. Wanted posters are still posted around Philadelphia. Colorado investigators say DNA evidence links Air Force Airman Tony Graves to a string of rapes near Colorado State University and also in Philadelphia. And a Massachusetts man has been convicted of murder for shooting 7 of his co-workers near Boston in December of 2000. The jury rejected Michael McDermott's lawyer's claim that he was insane. He faces life in prison. Massachusetts does not have the death penalty. We'll see you in about 30 minutes with an update. The O'Reilly Factor is coming up next right here on the most powerful name in news. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm John Kasich, in tonight for Bill O'Reilly. I want to thank you for watching. Coming up on The Factor, a new terror alert. The FBI says it has unconfirmed information that terrorists may be planning attacks against supermarkets and shopping centers. We're going to come back with the latest on that. Karen Hughes, who's one of the most powerful women in our country, she's leaving the White House to spend more time with her family. You know, the question is, can a woman have a successful career and have a family at the same time? We're going to explore it. But first, our top story tonight. Big news out of the Vatican today. The American Cardinals meeting with the Pope decided on a one-strike-and-you're-out policy for any priest involved in future sex abuse cases.
What we have now is a zero tolerance for the future. It's looking prospectively. I don't think there's any chance now, after all we've said and all we've seen, that anyone who from now on does something like that could ever expect to stay as a priest.
So the question is, has the church done enough to make sure it doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past and can recover from this? Joining us now from Washington is Father John McCloskey. He's the director of the Catholic Information Center of the Archdiocese of Washington. Father, let me just start and say that do you think the church now has done enough to begin to right these wrongs?
It certainly has made a very good beginning. The statement of the Holy Father 2 days ago was so strong in saying there was no room in religious life for priests to abuse children. The strong apologies that have been made, referring to it as a crime, as an appalling sin on his part, show his concern for the victims of these crimes and these great sins. Today we have the statement of the cardinals after consultation with the Holy Father and also his assistants. So now they have something to bring to the table when they go in June to Dallas in order to discuss with all the bishops of the United States how they can make sure this never happens again in the priesthood.
Let me say this a way that I sort of see from what I watched today. First of all, they're going to reach out to all victims, and they're going to try to help all victims. Secondly, any priest accused is automatically removed from their position. Thirdly, every case will be sent to civilian authorities. There'll be no sweeping anything under a rug, no independent decision by a priest or a bishop. If there's a charge, it gets sent to the civilian authorities. You're going to send away the priest to find out whether they need therapy, what kind of help do they need, and then there'll be a review board of the lay people and the clergy that will make a final determination. So it seems as though the church was very strong today. The Pope saying we won't tolerate this. But let me ask you this. Do you believe that we will go back and look at the abuses that that have happened? You know, we hear your cardinal say this is going to be in the future. What about past cases? Will that be covered as well?
Well, you have to remember that almost all of these cases have been brought up in the last couple of weeks and last couple of months have been cases going back 5, 10, or 15 years. It's my belief that the great majority of these cases have been reported already by those who have been victims. If there's more that have to be reported, that they come out so they can be investigated and dealt with, so we can minister and help those victims and also make any type of settlement that's necessary in order in a small way to make up for the abuse they suffered at the hands of priests.
So there'll be zero tolerance for the past. If they find out a priest did anything and this gets forward to authorities and it's concluded that he did, then they're out. Is that your understanding?
No, it is not. That still has to be settled. That is, a priest will certainly, and has been by the dozens, have been suspended in the last couple of weeks from past accusations. The question is whether if they... We're not talking about pederasty or pedophilia. That, I'm sure, is you are out. We're talking about sexual abuse of adolescents, inexcusable. But if there was an instance that happened once, 20 years ago, that priest went to therapy, was dealt with, he's not been a recidivist since then, well, that's something for the panel that will be put together by each diocese to look at to see whether it's possible for him to continue as a priest.
Father, here's what I saw today when I watched the press conference. My sense was the Pope was strong yesterday. He made definitive statements. Cardinal McCarrick has been just terrific with his statements, and, you know, the bishop, the head of the Catholic bishops, very strong. It's like they said, look, if we catch anybody, this is going to be prosecuted. They're out. That's what they say. And then the press says, well, great. What are you going to do about it? I mean, it sort of seemed to me as though no matter what you told the press, they were sort of on a rampage to say the church hasn't done enough. Was that your impression of that press conference?
I think so. Also, to be fair, we're going to have to get back to Dallas. We're going to have the bishops do it. We're going to have to see these national guidelines put on as mandatory in every diocese, and perhaps that will satisfy some of the anger, resentment that's out there. But really, I think the American Catholics are very satisfied with what they've heard in the last 2 days.
When we go down in June to Dallas with the Conference of Bishops, I take that all these policies will be fleshed out. They'll be exactly how somebody ought to proceed, and then they'll probably deal with anybody that may have committed abuse in the past as well. Do you expect that? What's going to happen in Dallas?
Well, they'll have a discussion on the things that are brought back. I'm sure the entire session will be just on this problem. And then when they come up with these guidelines or protocols, they'll be brought back to the Vatican, because only the Vatican, the Holy See, can impose them uniformly on each diocese. And another very important point to remember, John, is that there's another question here is the whole question of the selection, the training, and the continuing formation of priests, because after all, it was a very small number, but significant nonetheless, of priests who acted in this way. How did they get in the seminary? How come this wasn't noticed over the course of years?
So the issue of homosexuality in the priesthood will probably be dealt with in Dallas, won't it?
Yes, and I think that's going to be the next big issue in the days and weeks ahead.
Let me ask you this. You know, I don't like to, pound anybody, but I have to ask you, is it possible for somebody like Cardinal Law to remain in his position in light of the fact that he frankly has been so discredited? Does this prevent us from being able to get a clean sweep if, in fact, he stays in power?
I think Cardinal Law has expressed not his desire. I wouldn't be surprised that Cardinal Law has even asked to be relieved of his duties, but the Holy Father's kept him on at least for some time. We don't know. I'm quite sure that both Cardinal Law and the Holy Father, if they feel that Cardinal Law cannot be the shepherd of the Archdiocese of Boston effectively, some way or other, he will be moved.
Father McCloskey, let me just say to you that, as a supporter of the Catholic Church and an old altar boy and commentator, I think the Catholic Church took a big step today, and I hope the people across the country agree. I think it's what they had to do. It appears as though they did it, but there's more yet to come. I want to thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me, John.
Coming up, the FBI issued a new terror alert today. How worried should we be? We're going to have the latest. And Karen Hughes leaving the White House. What's that all about? Can a woman have it both ways? We're going to be right back at you.
It was not my dream to retire here. To the place where a couple first met.
Bonjour, madame. Ça va? I'm good, thanks. Au revoir.
Married. And always planned to return. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention, and it became my own. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley, one client at a time.
Time waits for no one. But for some, it certainly slows down. Reliable, long-lasting Trane air conditioners with the best warranty in the industry. It's hard to stop a train. Buy an Excel system now and get a 10-year parts warranty, plus up to $500 back.
You know, I've seen just about every kind of PC that Compaq makes. Now, though, we've got the Compaq Presario 6000T PC. As my kids would say, it's awesome. It's got the latest Intel Pentium 4 processor so that you can download, surf, play MP3s all at the same time. And you can get it any way you want it. It's what I call a personal computer. Like, this is the Andersons PC. They're getting a DVD burner, editing software. I see where this family's going. Hollywood. DJ Dan from Scranton, PA. He's getting a CDRW drive so that he can mix and burn his own CDs. Looks like the Everett family got this week's special. That's the Compaq Presario 6000T PC with an Intel Pentium 4 processor, 20 gig hard drive, and we'll give you a $100 instant rebate. So it's just $7.99. You can get in on it too if you hurry. You just call 1-888-921-6719 and get yours direct from Compaq. Of course, the best PC we'll ever make is the one we'll make for you.
In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, the continuing war on terror. Today, the FBI quietly warned its agents nationwide of unconfirmed information from a captured senior al-Qaeda official that terrorists may be planning attacks against supermarkets or shopping centers. You know, just last week, that same al-Qaeda leader sent the Justice Department on a chase alerting banks that were supposedly on a terrorist hit list. Question is, how serious should we take these threats? Joining us from Washington's Larry Johnson. He's a counterterrorism expert and Fox News contributor. Larry, I guess the fundamental question is, last week it was banks. This week, or today, we just got this notice, an hour or so ago, that you got to be careful when you go to a shopping center. Is Zubaydah being the kind of a guy that's just trying to send us into a frenzy? What is your read? How do you know which sort of reports and which information from this thug is going to be accurate?
It's sort of like pornography. You know it when you see it. And I think, unfortunately, the U.S. government is much like a 3-year-old child learning how to play cards for the first time. We keep showing our cards to everyone. Look at, stay out of banks, stay out of supermarkets, stay out of stores. What's the announcement of Kmart? Attention Kmart shoppers, blue light special and terrorist warning. Look,
But Larry, shouldn't people know? I mean, if this guy says dirty bomb, or he says, you could be attacked in a supermarket, and people didn't get the warning and something happened, I can tell you my friends would be they would go crazy about that. So doesn't the government have a responsibility to give us a sense of this if there's a shred of truth to it?
No, because the problem, what you end up doing is you do the work of the terrorists in this. By constantly putting out warnings, we are repeating the parable of the boy who cried wolf. And you keep crying wolf and nothing happens. When the wolf really does show up, when you really do need people to pay attention and do something, by that point they're just going to tune it out and said, oh, there goes the FBI again, another warning.
Well, Larry, I'll tell you, it's a good point. That's a very good point. So what you would argue for is be more selective and be careful.
Absolutely. Plus, you've got to vet this. Look, I know for a fact that the information that appeared yesterday on the front page of the Washington Post regarding what al-Zubaydah was saying was considered top secret, compartmented information. When leaks happen in Washington, it usually happens for one of two reasons. Either there's a dispute between a couple of agencies like the CIA and the FBI over how to handle information, and so they handle it by leaking it. If this guy is putting out information to see how we react, what happens to these groups that are still out there, they say, hey, look at that. We can make the United States react. It will duck and cover no matter what we say. The reality, John, is there may be more attacks, And regardless of what attack comes, it's not going to destroy this country. It's not going to destroy all of the American people. It's not even going to destroy a large
Larry,
segment.
let me say this to you, that these interagency leaks, somebody gets caught doing it, fired. On Capitol Hill, some politician leaks to get their name in a paper, fired. That should be a zero-tolerance policy there. Let me ask you this. There was a report last week in the Wall Street Journal that the effort to shut down the financial organization of the terrorists has basically collapsed, that they've been able to go into what's called the gray market. Instead of transferring large sums, you transfer small sums of money. In order to be effective against that, you've got to have good interagency cooperation in the United States and good cooperation between countries. Has some of this begun to break down?
No, it did start breaking down right around January. Right after 9/11, there was great cooperation. A task force was put together that had Department of Treasury with IRS, U.S. Customs, Department of Justice with DEA, FBI, and CIA was brought into it. And a friend of mine who works in the administration told me a few months back, he said, it's September 10th. And what he meant by that...
Yeah, we went backwards.
It went backwards.
Well, I took a group from Wall Street to see Donald Rumsfeld to get on top of this. We thought we were making some progress, and I guess we'll have to stir him up again. Let me ask you another question. We're worried about dirty bombs and everything else. President Musharraf in Pakistan is asked to extend his term as president. Let's assume he doesn't win. I hope he does get his term extended. They've got a lot of nuclear weapons in that country. It's a very unstable place. Do you worry about Pakistan and nuclear weapons?
Oh, listen, anytime you have a country like Pakistan and a country like India, where a vast majority of the population doesn't have access to just basic sanitary systems, and they've got nuclear weapons, something's wrong with that, and we have to stay on top of it. And there, you know, from the standpoint of U.S. interests, you have to be prepared to diffuse such threats. So, yeah, definitely it's something that concerns me. I don't think they've got the ability to bring it over here and do something here, but you know, instead of playing the guessing game...
war between India and Pakistan, a genie's out of the bottle, and life will never be the same. Quickly, Saddam, we're going to go in and inspect. Now, I take it he's not going to let anybody find this stuff if we go, so it's going to be very difficult to have a case, won't it? That he ought to prove to the world he doesn't have anything, rather than us trying to find sort of a needle in a haystack. This is going to be a real problem, isn't it?
Trying to inspect is good because it will keep him moving things around. If he declines that, then it gives us a basis. But I got to tell you, John, I think there's going to be evidence coming out within the next month or two that will show that Iraq actually had a hand in domestic terrorist attacks here in the United States, not just 9/11.
Well, then that will be the justification, Larry, not just for the United States, but it'll show the world that we're going to have to be unified and work against them. I want to thank you for being with us. Still to come, as the factor moves along, one of the president's top advisors quits to spend more time with her family. We'll be back with that story in a second.
What sets Datek apart from other online brokers? Free online trading tools. Datek gives you free real-time streaming quotes. And you can track stocks with free real-time streaming charts.
Real-time and free? I like that.
Searching for stocks that fit your trading strategy? Use the free real-time stock screener. Check valuable S&P research.
Free access to research. That helps.
And you can also get free streaming news from Dow Jones. Unlike other brokers, all online equity orders are just $9.99. And only Datek guarantees that if your marketable order is not executed within 60 seconds, the commission's waived.
Open and fund your account today and get 10 free online equity trades. Call toll-free 1-877-338-3642 or visit this special website.
Free trading tools, just part of the Datek difference.
Datek, built to trade.
KXL News Time, 7:50.
Ivan Scott joins us live from the Pentagon with the
15 and 45. Here's Kevin.
Now, Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points on KXL.
The home of the Ducks and Blazers, News Radio. Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
SLK with return. reliable hardtop. Value unlike any other.
Good morning, Portland. I'm Steve Leader.
And I'm Rebecca Marshall.
Portland firefighters come to the rescue of a
pretty
couple.
strong front is moving towards the Oregon
They'll line
coast.
up on the Sunset heading inbound from the west side.
Today, the Fed is
Maria.
likely to announce an interest rate.
Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
In the Impact segment tonight, working mothers in America, can they have it all? Yesterday, Karen Hughes, longtime confidant and counselor to President Bush, announced that she's going back to Texas to take care of her family.
Our roots are there. I have a daughter and a granddaughter there. My son is going to 10th grade next year, so he'll be home for 3 more years before he goes to college. And my husband and I came to a difficult, but I think right decision that we want those years to be spent in Texas. We want him to feel rooted there, to be able to be with his friends.
So how difficult is it for women to balance a family with a successful career? Joining us from Washington is Nancy Pfotenhauer. She's the president of the Independent Women's Forum. She left the job at the White House a decade ago to spend more time with her family. And from L.A., our own Susan Estridge. Ladies, let me tell you, we had a gender war in the newsroom when I discussed this subject today. I called my wife earlier. She had, kids on both hips, our twin girls. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to go home after this segment, so go easy on me. I'm just a man, I can't get in your head. But look, can you have it all? Can a woman have it all? Let's start with you, Susan.
I don't know that anybody can have it all at once, John. Do you have it all? I don't think so. I mean, I'm leaving. I'm going directly from here. I turned my phone off. My son said, "Where are you?" You're not at pickup. I said, I'll be late. I'll be right there. We just do our best. And I think all of us make lots of sacrifices along the way. And I make lots of sacrifices every day, but I wouldn't trade it for a life in which I didn't get to see my kids. I know that for sure.
Well, and you wrote a moving story about your family and the Gore campaign some time ago. We ought to have you to just talk about that. Nancy, what about you? You were in a really pressure situation, and then you got, God forbid, a sick kid, and you had to leave. Can a woman have it all? You're back working again. Tell us about it.
Well, I don't think anybody can have it all. And I want the record to show that Susan and I are actually agreeing on something, which doesn't happen too often. But I think that what we saw play out here or on the national scene over the last 24 hours has really brought the country's attention to the balancing act that working mothers have to play out every day of their lives. And I think we also got another new big reason to respect Karen Hughes.
Can a woman be on a CEO track? I'm not talking about going to work and being able to leave it, but can a woman be on a CEO track with very young children and be able to do the job with her kids and the family? What is your view? Is it possible? Because I think we all agree somebody's got to be home with those kids when they're at an early age, whether it's dad or mom. Somebody's got to be there. Can a woman be on that kind of a track with her husband on the same kind of a track?
Well, that's the decision that each individual family makes. My guess is she couldn't do it exclusively focusing on her career unless she was willing to pay the price of whatever happens to those children when they grow up. And we have to remember that a number of women can't make this trade-off decision because they can't afford to have, the families can't afford to have only one parent working. So some people really are constrained financially. Others spend a lot of time in school and graduate school working their butts off in order to get ahead, only to realize that at some point their families were suffering and made that decision that is completely filled with anguish.
But here's the problem. It doesn't have to be this way. You see, we talk and we do agree, and there's anguish and there's pain. But the rules are much tougher than they need to be. I mean, kids grow up, and there's no reason Karen Hughes shouldn't be able to come back in 3 years, and she probably will be, John.
That was sort of where I wanted to go next. Is it possible for a woman in today's world to stay home with her kids for 4 or 5 years till they get into, kindergarten, first grade, and come back?
No.
Or do you get... it's not, is it? It's very difficult.
It should be, but it's a dead end. You know, you talk to your wife and ask her how people look at you when you come back in your 40s, and you say, you know, I got a lot of valuable experience, you know. I know how to take care of, you know, people who scream and whine in the middle of the night, and I know how to suffer fools, and they look at you like you're, you know, out of your mind. Middle-aged women get discriminated against, and the bottom line is it shouldn't be this way. The White House will be a less good place for Karen Hughes's loss. That CEO track is a less good place because there aren't more women on it,
but
and we
it's
ought
not
to change the rules.
So now, but what do you mean by change the rules? Because the answer is...
I mean, we ought to open it up to women who can work 6 or 8 hours a day.
The answer is not embracing policy that overtly discriminates against our coworkers who are single and don't
Nancy,
have children.
here's the issue. My wife, Bob Gerbig, Blaine Walter, they run a big company, very successful PR firm, advertising. They want her. They work around her schedule. Of course, she's the best, so that's why they do it.
Well, that's right.
But the question is, are employers being too short-sighted? Are we too worried about the bottom line in the short run and driving good women and good people out?
And not
Nancy, answer that. We don't need to have a... Wait. Nancy, I'm not saying we need a law. We need a change of hearts among major employers, right?
Exactly. I think what we should be doing is celebrating the examples of companies and leaders, business leaders, who embrace flexible workplace policies and family-friendly workplaces. And we should start with a big thank you from every working mom across the country for President Bush, because he is walking the walk. Any company, any organization suffers a big hit when a senior performer steps out of the workplace, and this man is actually walking the walk. And so I think we should applaud him. Whether you agree with his politics or not, applaud him on this issue.
I'll tell you what, the men that are listening tonight to this show, you better get your act together if you're a big, important honcho somewhere, because we're going to lose a lot of good women. One other point, I bet you both agree that men spend all their time talking about spending more time with the kids when they go about their lives spending less time with the kids. Maybe husbands got to step up to the plate a little bit better. I'll bet you both agree with that, don't you?
Well, I think...
Well, I'd like a husband first.
Okay. So, next show...
That's a step in the right direction.
Susan, my next goal in life's going to be to get you a husband.
Okay, John, you take that one first.
All right, listen, and since I was able to talk about husband responsibility, sweetheart, I'm coming home pretty soon, and I hope you'll open the door for me. Ladies, I want to thank you very much.
You did very well, Mrs. Kasich,
Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. A woman travels to the Middle East seeking revenge after her father is shot by a Palestinian. We're going to tell her story in just a few moments. Stay with us.
May your travels bring you serenity. Satisfaction. Like when you book ahead, ask for the daylight savings rate and save 25% on your days in room. It's like getting the bathroom free. All you need is the inspiration to book now.
Diabetes. It's no joke at all. I'm leaving the pain behind me.
The One Touch Ultra requires less blood, so you can test on your arm where it's less painful. The One Touch Ultra.
I've been waiting for this for 10 years.
Experience the new National Geographic Channel. Spectacular new shows. Around-the-clock adventure. The continuing story of life on Earth every day of the week. A new channel. A new National Geographic. Log on to nationalgeographic.com and request the new NGC. Always wonder. Nimitz, Yamamoto, 2 men, 1 epic showdown. Hear from the pilots who rain terror upon each other's ships. Live the story of the codebreakers who saved untold American lives. Experience the sights and sounds of naval warfare from the Battle of Midway on the next War Stories with Oliver North.
Hi, I'm Edie Donahue. Tomorrow on Fox & Friends, who should be our next target in the war on terror? Colonel David Hackworth reports for duty starting at 6 a.m. Eastern.
In the second personal story segment tonight, an amazing story. One woman's revenge on her father's attacker turned into something else. In 1986, while visiting Jerusalem, David Blumenfeld, who is with us, a rabbi from New York City, was shot in the head by a Palestinian terrorist. He survived, of course, but the incident haunted his daughter, Laura, for years. Her new book, Revenge, A Story of Hope, talks about her obsession to find the shooter and to seek revenge for the attack. Author Laura Blumenfeld joins us from San Francisco and here in New York. I wanted her dad to be here because you got to be the proudest dad in the world. Right. Rabbi, before we get to you, I want to talk to Laura. Laura, you, I guess, were stunned when you were in college. I guess you were at Harvard and you found out that your father had been shot in Israel. Tell us about that day, your reaction.
Well, my father was just off on a week trip to Jerusalem, and all of a sudden I got this phone call from him saying, honey, you're going to see something on the news, and I just want you to know that I'm okay. The first reports out of Jerusalem said that he'd been killed, and he wanted to get to me before the news did.
So you found out about it, and you decided that, well, you were angry. You wanted to go find this guy. Is that correct? And you wanted to write a book about revenge. Tell us how you got into this book.
Well, actually, I was angry, but I think more than angry, I was frightened. I was young, and I was just about to step out into the world, and this shooting made me wonder, what kind of world is it that I'm going off into? And I wrote a poem that week vowing that I would find the man who tried to kill my father and confront him some way, challenge him. And for years, it just sat in the back of my mind. It was one of those revenge fantasies. We all have them. It's something we dream about in the night, but then when the sun comes up in the morning, we let go. But more and more as the years passed, I realized that these kinds of attacks didn't begin or end with my father. They're part of a mindset which says, you know, it's okay to kill innocent people to make a political point. And that just challenged everything that I'd been taught by my parents and by this country. And I felt like I had to track that bullet down to its source and confront the man.
So you go over to Israel, you get to know his family, and you get to know him, unbeknownst to them. They don't know who your father is. They don't know about the attack. And you sort of get into understanding them. Is that what happened? At the same time, you're studying other parts of the world where revenge is sort of an accepted way of life. And
That's
it was
right.
in that you had your transformation. Tell us about it.
Well, there were two people operating all along. There was the journalist who was looking at revenge from the outside, trying to explore it. And then there was the daughter, the avenger, who was living it from the inside. I introduced myself to the gunman and to the family as Laura. No last name. They had no idea I was the daughter of the victim. I told them I was writing about revenge and was interested in their story. They spoke about the shooting in very lighthearted terms. They said it was public relations. The gunman described my father as a chosen military target. You know, he had no idea he was describing this to the daughter of the man he tried to kill. I also traveled around the world because I had these irrational thoughts, but so does half the world, and half the troubles are fueled by this need to get even. And
we don't unfortunately have enough time for all of this segment, but in a nutshell, you found peace. The man found peace with your father, and you, in fact, even went to a parole hearing and said the man should not be kept in prison. I mean, you had a complete change of heart. Does that come, Rabbi? Is that what you taught your daughter, to forgive? Where does this come from, this feeling?
I wouldn't say precisely forgive, because this was a criminal act. It was a violent act. He tried to murder me, so you don't forgive a person who murdered. The question is that would he do it again? Has he been rehabilitated? Has there been a transformation in his thinking? His ideology may even be the same. He could have the same ideology. But the question is, would he go into the street and kill an innocent person?
And the hard back and forth of we kill, they kill, that's what's got to end, particularly in the Middle East, all over the world. Let me tell you one little thing. Yes. My mother and father were killed by a drunk driver. And I've been able, by the grace of God, to be able to figure out how to not wish this man bad. And I know that if he could turn the clock back, he would. You're proud of your daughter. She's great, isn't she?
She's terrific.
And I'll tell you, Laura, I'm going to go buy that book. I've got to read it because it's a gem, and it is a secret for where we need to head in this world. Justice, at the same time, combined with forgiveness. Laura, I want to thank you. Rabbi, thanks for being here. Coming up next, has the government been abusing the Arabs in custody since 9/11? We'll be right back with that report.
evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. Pakistan has given the U.S. advisors the green light to go with Pakistani forces into hideouts along their border with Afghanistan, seeking out terrorists. Mike Emanuel has more from Kabul.
Another tool for U.S. officials trying to track down al-Qaeda cells. U.S. advisors will work with Pakistani troops in the tribal areas of western Pakistan. American officials have been convinced there are al-Qaeda cells in the tribal areas. It's known as being a safe haven for terrorists, a place where they may be allowed to stay and operate. The significance is Pakistani troops and U.S. officials have been successful in sweeps in other parts of the country. In fact, that's how the top al-Qaeda leader in U.S. custody, Abu Zubaydah, was captured. To Karachi and the Daniel Pearl murder trial, the chief prosecutor in the case says he believes his life is in danger after the defendants have been making threatening gestures at him. Also, a Pakistani journalist who worked with Daniel Pearl testified about a conversation he had with the Wall Street Journal reporter. He says Pearl asked him if the meeting that ultimately led to his kidnapping was dangerous. Chief suspect Sheikh Omar and 3 alleged accomplices are charged with the kidnapping and murder of the Wall Street Journal reporter. In Kabul, Afghanistan, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Mike, thank you. We'll see you at the top of the hour with an update. The O'Reilly Factor continues next on Fox.
Is Bob. Bob is doing well. Very well indeed. That's because not long ago, Bob realized that he needed something better in his life. And what did he get? Why, a big boost of confidence, a little more self-esteem, and a very happy missus at home. If you're interested in learning more about Enzyte, call for more information at 1-877-4-ENZYME or visit us online.
If you're over 50, this message is for you. Over time, if undetected, colorectal cancer becomes a killer. But screening tests can find it early when treatment is most effective. Even better, this is one cancer you can prevent. Screening finds precancerous polyps that can be removed before they turn into colorectal cancer. So stop this disease in its tracks. Medicare and many insurance plans help pay for screening. See your doctor and screen for life.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm John Kasich in for Bill O'Reilly. And in the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, another class action lawsuit filed against the Justice Department says that Arabs detained after September 11th, they were badly mistreated, even beaten. The suit alleges their basic human rights were violated and the government should accept responsibility. With us now is Bill Goodman. He's the legal director of the Center for Constitutional Rights. It's the group that's filing the lawsuit. And from Las Vegas, our Fox News legal analyst, Bob Massey.
How you doing?
Well, Bill, first of all, state the nature of this suit.
It is a class action. It's brought on behalf of the people who were detained after September 11th, not only Arabs, there are South Asians, Pakistanis as well, almost all Muslim males.
Is they retaining you?
The class representatives are retaining.
So they're paying you folks to file this lawsuit?
No, we're a public interest law firm. We do this for nothing. If there are legal fees awarded at the end, maybe we'll be paid for our time and for our expenses, maybe not. But no, they're not paying us because they don't have anything as a rule. These are mostly immigrants who were here in the first place in violation of visas, who were picked up for immigration charges, and then were held for long periods of time beyond that which they should have been, and beyond that, who were mistreated while they were in prison, many of them.
Now, Bob, my understanding of this case is that every single one of these detainees who was held in the prison, name came up after the 9/11 investigation. I mean, they may have been held because of a problem with their papers, but ultimately they were only being held for the real reason that their name came up in this investigation. Is that your sense of this, and how do you feel about this lawsuit?
Well, my position is real simple. I mean, obviously, if there was mistreatment, none of us want that from a physical perspective. But I'll be honest with you, John, you know, the Constitution of our country was also designed to protect us, you know, we the people, the way that it's supposed to be. Now, if there's a due process issue and things of this nature, I would rather err at this particular time on the fact that our government feels that the reason they're holding them is still there's ongoing investigation. You know, I'm sort of tired of the fact, again, that we the people, in this case the country, is the victim. But listen, make sure that we do everything absolutely right. I think the Constitution will survive if there is any type of wrongdoing. Absent, of course, physical abuse. I would never condone that.
All right, Bob, let Bill have a say.
The Constitution will not survive systematic violation of the Constitution.
Let me tell you something.
Maybe you're tired of it, but the Constitution permits people certain rights.
Well, you're right. I'm tired of it.
Bob, hold on a second. Bill, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Look, you're a nice guy. I mean,
and so are you.
Yeah. You don't be filing all these lawsuits left and right, but you're a nice guy. Yeah. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. These people were held because their names were linked to people like Muhammad Atta. Oh, yes, it is. That's the INS.
It is absolutely not true.
The INS will tell you that every name...
Well, the INS may tell us that.
Oh,
the INS has to come into court and prove it. No, I don't believe it. One of the class representatives, Ibrahim Turkman, is a nice little man from Turkey who did nothing wrong, who's linked to nobody, who was over here selling gas off papers, he shouldn't have been, who the INS said, you can leave, but was held for 4 or 5 months beyond that point simply because he was a suspect. Now, when you're a suspect, Bob, when you're a suspect, the Constitution says, bring him in front of a judge.
Wait a second.
Tell him what the charges
but all we ever worry about, again, is the defendant or the victims.
No,
you know what? I'm a victim. You're a victim.
That's not true.
And let me tell you something. And the reality of it is, I'm not in any way suggesting, Bill, that there should be any physical wrongdoing, that's right. What I'm talking about is there are probably things going on that you and I could not know in reference to the government, in reference to these people. Why is it every single time we get in a situation, here it comes, this constitutional class action lawsuit, we make sure that we must protect everybody else. Who's protecting my rights?
Well, let me ask you guys both.
I'm protecting your rights.
Oh, no, you're not protecting my rights. No,
because I'm protecting your rights under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment, buddy.
Look, Bill, I mean, look, if the INS then does say that each of these people were detained because of a connection in one way or another to 9/11, then you drop your lawsuit, wouldn't you?
No, I would not. Here's what I would say. I would say, look, are they suspected of a crime? Bring them in front of a judge.
Yeah,
Tell the judge
what they were doing.
Look,
we have 9/11.
That's all. That's what.
Okay,
that's
Bill.
what
Wait a minute. We have 9/11, right?
Yeah.
We have this incredible attack.
Right.
So they go and they try to figure out, are we going to have more attacks? So they go through all this business and they find your name. And they don't know exactly what your tie is, and what you're telling me is they should release you?
Sure.
I mean, that's crazy.
I'm telling you that if they don't have a reason to hold you, they should release you. What is the reason?
The reason was because their name surfaced in a web of people around the world who were associated with terror. Let me ask you another question. You say they were abused, okay? Abuse in a federal penitentiary, in a detention facility, is a federal crime. So why is it that the lawyers of these people didn't file something immediately or complain? Why did it have to wait until later when we file some kind of a class action lawsuit?
Most of them didn't have lawyers. Those who did complain, and these lockups did nothing about it. I put
did they go
heavy
to a judge?
Shackles on you.
Did they go to it? No, did they?
How did they get to a judge? How did they get to a judge?
Well, they have a lawyer.
That's the point. No, most of them didn't have lawyers.
Let me tell you, Moussaoui got more lawyers than most people in America.
Moussaoui is not one of our clients. Moussaoui was picked up long before September 11th, first of all. And secondly, there's a reason to hold Moussaoui. He was charged with a crime. He has more rights than my clients have.
You know what? I'd rather know where these people are right now, even though it's too bad that they're not happy with how they're being treated, they're detained. I feel more comfortable as an American knowing that they are there. I don't care what nationality they are, as opposed to having them just released. We don't have the whole story.
Let me just, on Bill's side, let me ask you this. Are you concerned at all about the slippery slope? That in a time of a crisis, you know, things happen that we regret later. Are you concerned about that? Because I think we all as Americans should be a little bit concerned about that.
Am I concerned about it? Yeah, well, of course I am. But here's the thing. There is so much, and you, who went on the inside, understand probably better than us as guests, there is so much that we probably don't know. At some point in time, may a judge need to make this determination? Of course. But why is it every single time that it comes down to this, it's always, let's make sure we protect these detainees or defendants, and what about the victims being us as Americans?
Well, look,
I feel that Constitution is there for me
Bill,
as well as it is them.
You're going to have, here's the deal, you're going to have your say in court. We're going to abide by the procedures of law. Today it's been announced the White House is supporting getting rid of the INS, and maybe we won't have these people coming into our country who we don't know where they are. Maybe we can get some clampdown. By the way, thanks for coming on again, presenting that point of view. And Bob, thanks for being with us. We've got to move on. Coming up next, the Factor Flashback. Are black children being discriminated against when their parents run into trouble? Bill debates that issue in a moment.
There's a place called Perfect. In Perfect, there are no last-minute parties or belated birthday cards. Horns are only honked in celebration. And in the evening, there's an extra hour for play. Of course, we don't live anywhere near Perfect, so we have Walgreens, open every day, many 24 hours, where we can get what's needed for the real world. That's life. This is Walgreens.
KXL News Time 7:50.
Ivan Scott joins us live from the Pentagon.
It's at 15 and 45. Here's Kevin.
Now, Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points on KXL.
The home of the Ducks and Blazers, News Radio. Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
Well, Mr. Limbaugh, what has our little agitator been up to this week? Gluing Mrs. Brendel to her chair? Bringing in your sister's underpants for show and tell? Science project took out East Wing? Do you know where smart Alex like you end up?
On the radio?
Rush Limbaugh has moved to News Talk 620 KTLK. News Talk for the Great Northwest. As 2002 North American Car of the Year, Nissan Altima's getting lots of attention. Road and Track says the first thing you notice is the bold styling. Automobile Magazine says there's plenty of headroom front and back. It's like a limo. USA Today says it outpowers rivals significantly. And here's a quote you're gonna love. Just $18,999. Shouldn't you test drive one today? The totally new Nissan Altima. See your Northwest Nissan dealer. Nissan. Driven.
Foot Solutions, not just a shoe store, but a foot store, where you'll find our highly trained staff ready to fit you with shoes that look good and, best of all, feel good. Foot Solutions uses leading-edge technology to scan and assess your foot and can fit you with custom orthotics and stylish, comfortable shoes. Walk into a Foot Solutions store today for your free-fitting and computerized foot scan and walk out a different person. 2 great Foot Solutions locations to serve you, Clackamas and Tigard.
Good morning, Portland. I'm Steve Leader.
And I'm Rebecca Marshall.
Portland firefighters come to the rescue of
a pretty strong front is moving towards the Oregon coast.
On the Sunset heading inbound from the west side.
Today, the Fed is likely to announce an interest rate. Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
In the Factor Flashback segment tonight, are black children in America being discriminated against when their parents get into trouble? Bill recently spoke with Dorothy Roberts. She's the author of Shattered Bonds, The Color of Child Welfare. So, what is the problem?
Well, the problem is that black children are hugely overrepresented in the child welfare system, way beyond their numbers in the population. And there's lots of evidence that it's a result of both high rates of black child poverty, but also racial bias on the part of people who report child abuse, those who decide what to do, caseworkers and judges, what to do with the children, and also every single aspect of the system. The very philosophy of the system has tracked, as black children enter the system, tracked a more punitive approach.
All right, now are we talking about kids in foster care now mostly? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, A large number of children in the child welfare system are in foster care, and that's a big part of the problem. Black children are much more likely, when they're identified by caseworkers, to be put in foster care, to be removed from their homes, as opposed to white children who are charged, whose parents are charged with abuse and neglect. They're more likely to be left at home,
right,
and their families receive services in the home. So the high rate of children, black children, placed in foster care is what I think the heart of the problem.
Okay. Now, there are two very disturbing statistics that may impact on this whole situation. First of all, 70% of all black children are now born out of wedlock, as opposed to 26% of whites. So you have single mothers in the black community at the rate of 53%. Running the household. 53% of all black homes are run just by the mom. No dad in there at all. As opposed to 26% of whites. So the structure in the black community is single family home, single mother homes, and a very high rate of kids born out of wedlock. Doesn't that impact on this?
Well, it impacts on it in the sense that you're right that there is a higher rate of unwed motherhood in the black community, and it's also true that female-headed households are more likely to be poor. But that doesn't tell us what should happen to kids in those communities when the family is having problems.
All right, but isn't it an issue of stability? Look, I'm not your statistics, you're the researcher, and I'm sure they're true. I'm sure they're true. But I'm trying to figure out the why of it. See, I don't believe that most social workers or caseworkers are prejudiced people. I don't believe that.
Well, they may not consciously have prejudices against black people, but they may interpret harms to children differently. In fact, I think there's a lot of evidence they do when the harm is occurring in a black home as opposed to any other
But is it
home
a
in the
stability
society.
issue? If you have just a single mom running the house as opposed to two parents, even though they're abusive bad parents in the White House, aren't you more likely to keep the kid in the two-parent home?
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because that's absolutely right. I think that's part of it, that caseworkers, in fact, in the book, I quote judges and state's attorneys when it asked, why do you put so many black kids in juvenile detention and let white kids who were charged with the same offenses stay at home? And they say very blatantly, because in the black home there's only the mother, and the white home, even when the parents are divorced, the dad is there somewhere to take control over the child.
Shouldn't that be? I know that in many cases that's not, you know, the white kid's not getting any parental supervision, even though it looks like he may be. I know that, and everybody knows that. But isn't that something the judge should take into account?
No, I don't think so at all.
Really?
I think, no, because the question is, what is the harm to the child, and what's the best way to address it? Just because it's only a mother taking care of the child doesn't mean there's a close bond between the mother and the child, that she's caring, that she's capable of taking care of the child with the resources that she needs.
And up next, hundreds of illegal airport workers arrested across our country. Is the security crackdown working? Please stick around. It's a good story.
The scandal that was only whispered about
Your secret is safe with me.
now has the critics shouting.
You just said everyone knows. Who's everyone?
Everyone on this boat, for example. Ebert and Roper give The Cat's Meow 2 thumbs up. You're in love with me, aren't you?
Not as much as you are with you.
Spry, suave and touching. Kirsten Dunst is charming. I could keep an eye on her for you. Sublimely wonderful. Kirsten Dunst, Eddie Izzard, Edward Herrmann, Jennifer Tilly, in a new film by Peter Bogdanovich, The Cat's Meow. Rated PG-13. Now playing in select cities. Starts Friday at additional theaters.
Hot dogs, hot dog, over here. That'll be 4 1/4.
I'll give you 1 1/4.
Hey, pal, no discounts. Hot dogs.
We want a better deal.
Everybody wants them. Hot dogs!
We can get you great deals on hotels.
New York for $69 a night.
How about Las Vegas?
San Francisco?
Worldwide. All right, guys, you got a deal. Tell me more about this.
Hotels.com!
The best prices at the best places, guaranteed.
Your World with Neil Cavuto.
Our business news is for Main Street, not Wall Street.
Direct and on target.
Simply put, clearly illustrated, and in English.
Interviews with powerful politicos and the street's elite.
We're not pulling any punches.
Know your world with Neil Cavuto.
It's not just about making money. It's about making sense.
On the network America trusts for fair and balanced business news. We are Fox News Channel.
In the back of the book segment tonight, airport insecurity. More than 140 employees at Washington, D.C. area airports have been indicted on charges of lying about their identities or their criminal past on employment applications. I mean, can you believe it? So is the airport security crackdown going to make air travel safer? Well, joining us from my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, almost, not Westerville, but close, is aviation attorney Mary Schiavo. She's a former Department of Transportation Inspector General and is about as straight a shooter as you can find. Mary, I mean, look, we're going through these airports, right? We're taking our shoes off. We're going through, they're checking everything we have, even the dirty underwear we take into the airport. And then we find out that the people that are checking us have been lying. I mean, isn't this going to cause a credibility problem in terms of people standing in lines?
Right. Well, I think the American people already know that the Transportation Department and aviation security in this country has a terrible credibility problem. The bigger problem here is, for example, in hearings before the United States Senate and Congress, they had indicated that as many as 80% of the screeners at Dulles and other airports were illegal, either illegal aliens or had other crimes. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. What's troubling is that it is trickling sort of through the system. There have been 17 airports where there have been arrests made. This started on September 19th, but Reagan and Dulles are among the last to get it. Truly, those with serious criminal ties to al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, undoubtedly, if they weren't picked up immediately, have probably made it for the borders. The most troubling thing was our own Transportation Security Agency and the Department of Transportation continued to fail to hold those who hired these individuals accountable. In fact, yesterday they made an announcement. They said, well, it must have been by accident. You can't have these many accidents.
Well, here's the thing. My understanding is, we're going to federalize everybody. I got this fight with one of the producers, Peter Zorich. He goes, got to federalize. They said, well, let me tell you, does federalizing mean taking people who are now private workers and then giving them civil service protection and a raise? And it's turning out that that's exactly what it means, doesn't it?
No, actually, we got another sleight of hand going on. They're not going to do that at all. What they're going to do is contract with, in most cases, the same old security
companies. That's what I mean. You're just going to take the people that are currently doing it and give them a badge and say, ha-ha, haven't we fixed it?
That's right, and they're going to remain the employees. Really what 9/11 did in the way the Department of Transportation is doing it is they gave the security companies that helped let in the terrorists, they gave them a raise, and that is exactly how it's working out, and it is an outrage, and I really think that it is time that, I think that probably in 2 years' time we will be having this same conversation again. We will have wasted probably $10 or $20 billion. By the way, they're doing no bid contracts. We all know what that means in Washington, and probably we'll be having this conversation after another tragedy.
We put you in charge, okay? We're going to make you the czar. How do you clean it up in the next year? Give us the 5 points.
5.1, first thing is you have to hold those accountable who have helped bring us this tragedy. In particular, arresting the bottom rung here, arresting the lowest level is not going to change a thing. You have to go up the ladder and hold the entire structure accountable, and that may include throwing out some of these companies and never allowing them to have contracts again. 2, the Department of Transportation cannot do the job. This is a law enforcement function, and we need to put an agency in charge that can do it. I had suggested somebody like Customs, Coast Guard, someone that is able to do a law enforcement function, and I'll shorten it to 3. And the third thing is we cannot keep responding to the last attack. We were busy trying to respond to Pan Am 103 when 9/11 happened. There are many other vulnerabilities in aviation, the airport perimeter, getting onto the fence, concessionaires, contractors, and general aviation. Don't forget a small plane packed with explosives can do as much damage or more damage than a 767. Those are areas we haven't even begun to touch, and 1/3 of the planes in this country don't even have transponders.
Well,
that's a
Mary, I have a feeling that things are safer than they were. I mean, I believe they're safer than they were. But let me tell you this. We got to get that equipment in there. Leaving this just to human beings who get bored isn't going to work. You got to be able to X-ray. You got to get the stuff in that can have the sensitive heat function so that if they carry a weapon or something like that, it can be picked up automatically. I don't understand the holdup on this equipment. Let's get it done.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Now, the Department of Transportation had said, well, we can't meet the December deadline. Today, they said they would with 1,100 explosives detection equipment. But you're right. Many hijackings have been carried out by weapons on the body in places where we don't search and other ways to link up with them on the other side. And you are correct. The last line of defense is just before boarding the planes. And other countries do the last rung of security right there. It's going to take a lot of equipment. You are absolutely right. We have no way to meet that threat right now. Right now, we're relying on the Justice Department to pick up criminals. It's making us safer and it's good, but the Justice Department can't do it.
Mary, look, you're the best. I hope you can find your way back there after you make a lot of money in the private sector. As always, I want to thank you for being with us. And I got to tell you, that's it for us today here on the O'Reilly Factor. I do want to mention an advisor, a counselor, a dear friend of mine, John McMullen, out in New Jersey, and his wife, Jackie, are watching. And I also want to give a nice hello to Tink Veal up in Cleveland.